Welcome to another episode of the Movie Brothers. I'm Ant. This is Kev. Thank you guys for joining us once again. We're so glad to be here with you.
Yes, indeed.
Kev is so excited about today's episode because he is a true fanboy of comic books. And we are reviewing the film Avengers Age of Ultron for you today. It's rated PG-13, has a runtime of 2 hours and 21 minutes. This is a straight-up action adventure. What else? In it, we have Tony Stark and Bruce Banner. They try to kick off a top-secret program called Ultron that ultimately backfires.
This movie was directed by Joss Whedon, the great and powerful Wonderkin. It stars the usual suspects.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle. I mean, the list goes on and on. It seems like they just jam-packed this particular film with star power.
Oh, yeah.
You want to go straight into it?
Yeah,
you ready
man.
to start talking about it?
This is your world today. It's all about Kev today.
It's all about me. All right. The Avengers return in this film in order to put down a global threat that only they can. And the ironic thing is it is a global threat of Tony Stark's own making. As Ant already mentioned, both he and Bruce Banner basically try to start up the Ultron project, which is their way of coming up with artificial intelligence that can serve as a global peacekeeping unit that keeps them from having to actually put on cape and cowl and costume and go to war on behalf of the Earth. They can have these robots and machines do it for them. But robots run amok, as they always do.
They always them doggone robots, man.
Yeah, you can't keep them robots in line. And so basically Ultron basically gains his own sentience, determines that as he is voiced by James Spader, very snarkily, appropriately snarky, I will say. James Spader decides that, hey, I'm smarter than all these guys. I'm taking over. All right.
Right.
I'll admit, and Ann has already mentioned this, I am predisposed to like this type of thing. Okay, I am a comic book geek. I have loved comic books since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So I love comic books. I know these stories. I know these characters backwards and forwards. And I just got a thrill out of seeing it all play out on screen in the way that it does. And I think that other geeks will as well.
Yeah, probably so. And Kev, I would, as much as I needle you all the time about being a comic book fan, but whether you believe this or not, I'm actually impressed by it. I admire the fact that you know all the history of all of these characters and the comic book whole thing. Not my thing, but I respect that it is your thing. Now, with that said,
I respect that you respect that I respect that type of thing.
I don't believe that, but anyway, but for me, a non-comic book fan, hated it. maybe hate is a strong word. Okay, it is. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but let's just say I was underwhelmed by this film. I had to actually come up with a new phrase, Kev, after watching this movie and trying to kind of, how do I summarize how I feel about it? And I came up with the phrase "comic vomit." That's what I feel, and let me explain myself. What I mean by that.
Please do.
You are inundated with so many freaking characters in this film. It was too much for me. I mean, you had characters coming in and out of this film, comic book, heroes and villains. It was just all over the place,
right.
And more is not always better. And I felt like maybe they just thought, hey, we're going to really hit you in the mouth, with this one, with the Age of Ultron. But it was just too much for me. Right. Way too much.
I can understand that. Joss Whedon has to pull off the impossible, and that is manage such a large ensemble cast. It had to be something like herding cats, okay? It had to be very difficult to do. As a result, the film does have a tendency to feel a little over-bloated or a little bloated or overwrought. There are characters that do kind of floss in and floss out that, don't really get a whole lot of backstory or introduction, okay? If you know who those characters are, you are satisfied with that. But I can see where the average viewer might be confused or feel like they're kind of left out in the cold.
Yes.
Unlike the first Avengers, where if you did not know the Avengers, you would still enjoy it. Okay.
Which I did.
This Avengers almost begs that you know something going in about who these characters are and what their relationships are, towards one another. And at the end of the day, I really kind of feel like, as much as I enjoyed this movie, it is more or less set up for future films.
Okay, yeah. I see that, and yes, that would explain why I felt like I almost needed a comic book manual at times to try to piece together everything that was going on.
Right.
The plot itself, it did leave something to be desired for me. I can't go into, because I don't want to do any spoilers, but I wanted more there, with all the kind of, these.
Or you wanted less there.
Well, for the plot? No, I wanted more. I wanted more there. So that left something to be desired. But, the jokes didn't really hit, felt like they really tried to dial up the funny, but the comedy didn't really work for me in this film either.
You didn't like the film? You didn't like the scene where all the Avengers are sitting around with Thor trying to figure out who can pick up the hammer?
It was corny.
I thought that was great. I love that type of thing. I love seeing them in an element where they were out of costume, where they were just hanging.
Yeah.
Okay. I love those types of scenes.
No, I thought that was cheesy.
Let's talk about the cast for a minute. Robert Downey Jr. is Robert Downey Jr. Okay. He is who he is. He's gonna be Robert Downey Jr. At this point, there isn't a role that he could take in which he would not be Robert Downey Jr. Okay, and he is now Tony Stark. We've come to expect that. Chris Evans is Captain America, up and down. I love Chris Evans in this character. Captain America: Winter Soldier is probably my favorite Marvel Studios film out of all of them that have been made. James Spader as Ultron was appropriately, like I said, snarky, funny. I thought that he was humorous, okay, because it was James Spader being the James Spader that we all know and love, and that was funny. I appreciated that. There are certain characters that you feel really brought it though this time around. Mark Ruffalo as the Incredible Hulk, as Bruce Banner, awesome. Okay, awesome. I really loved every scene that he's in. And the scenes that he shares with Scarlett Johansson are fun. They don't really take it too far, okay, in terms of a potential romance, and I'm not, spoiling anything. If you've seen trailers, then you kind of know what I'm talking about. But I really enjoyed that. I thought that Jeremy Renner got a whole lot more to do this time around as Hawkeye. In the first Avengers, he was basically just an ancillary character who was, got his mind altered to become a bad guy for half the film before Scarlett Johansson, beat the snot out of him, and brought him back. But in this movie, he is the emotional core of this entire thing. He's the one character who can kind of corral the rest of his teammates and bring them together. And I thought that was really cool, very interesting.
Yeah. Yes, James Spader, man, I thought was great. Loved him playing Ultron. Mark Ruffalo was by far my favorite character in this film, Hulk. Every scene that they were in was awesome. Even my favorite action scene in the movie, and I can't give it away, but it involves the Hulk. And I love that part of it. Everyone else for me was really kind of average at best.
Right.
The CGI and the live action, you guys always hear me moan and groan. It's too much CGI, too much CGI. I can't appreciate that Josh Whedon, did dial up the live action in this. He attempted to. It didn't necessarily work for me in terms of just being seamless between the CGI and the live action. But again, I do appreciate the fact that the attempt was made. That's really what I have. I mean, Kev, can we throw some points on this thing?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Since it's your day, let me go, and then you'll have the final word. Yeah, you'll have the final word.
Please.
So, and I'll be very quick here. I wasn't impressed with this, and hey, I'm not a comic book hater. You guys know I loved Captain America and Winter Soldier last year. One of my favorite films last year, as a matter of fact. But this one just didn't do it for me. Too much going on, and all the other reasons that I mentioned. I give this film a 5 out of 10,
Okay.
average at best.
Okay. I appreciate the care that Marvel Studios is putting into the creation of their Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it's awesome. They are basically putting all the puzzle pieces together. They're putting the chessboard together, and we are in anticipation for future projects. And it really kind of felt like this particular film was more of a setup for future Marvel films, even introducing characters and settings that were going to be more important in other films, such as Wakanda, the African nation, where Black Panther comes from, Chadwick Boseman's character that he's going to be playing. We get a lot of setup in this film. More information about the Infinity Stones that are featured in movies such as Guardians of the Galaxy and the first Avengers film and Thor and so on and so forth. It can become a bit much if you don't know where it all is leading, where it's all going to. But those of us who are geeks, okay, we know exactly where this is headed to. It's headed to Captain America: Civil War, in which Captain America and Tony Stark, Iron Man, have it out. Okay, splinters the group. We know that it's heading from there to Avengers: Infinity War, which is going to be a 2-part series. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was a pretty good flick. I give this movie a 7 out of 10. It's not perfect. It does have its flaws. It does have its faults. But I did have a lot of fun in it.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. We are the Movie Brothers. Be sure to like us on Facebook.
Or follow us on Twitter at The Movie Brothers.
Yep, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Thank you guys that comment. Those that do, we do look at your comments and we do respond. Well, we take that very seriously. So continue to interact with us. We love it. And thanks for tuning into the show. We are the Movie Brothers. I'm Ant. This is Kev. This is the place, the one and only place where we bring you nothing but the real on the real. Hey.